That backpack sitting in my passenger seat right now, it's got $50,000 in cash and a phone that won't stop buzzing. 3 hours ago, I was just another rideshare driver trying to make rent. Now I've got men in black SUVs following me, and I'm pretty sure one of them has a piece under his jacket. You ever have one of those nights where everything goes sideways? Where you make one simple decision, and suddenly your whole life turns into a nightmare you can't wake up from? Yeah, that's where I am right now. Let me back up. My name's Carlos, and I've been driving for rideshare apps for about 2 years. Nothing glamorous about it, but it pays the bills. Most nights, it's pretty routine. Drunk college kids, airport runs, the occasional weirdo who wants to tell you their life story. But last night was different. It was around 11:30 p.m. when I got the ping. Downtown pickup, heading to the industrial district. 5-star passenger, which usually means good tips and no drama. I pull up to this upscale bar, you know the type, where a beer costs $15 and everyone's wearing suits that cost more than my car. This guy walks out, maybe mid-40s, expensive clothes, nervous energy. He slides in the back seat with this leather backpack, clutched tight against his chest like it's his firstborn child. First red flag, but hey, I've seen stranger things. Airport, he says, then immediately changes his mind. Actually, no. Take me to Warehouse District, Industrial Boulevard. Weird, but okay. The guy's paying, I'm driving. Simple as that. We start moving, and this dude, he won't shut up, talking a mile a minute about everything and nothing. The weather, the traffic, some restaurant he ate at last week. But his hands are shaking, and he keeps checking his phone every 30 seconds. You been driving long? He asks, trying to make conversation, but I can't hear the tension in his voice. Couple years, I tell him, keeping my eyes on the road. Good money in it. Pays the bills. He laughs, but sounds forced. Yeah, bills. We all got those, right? The whole ride, he's clutching that backpack like his life depends on it. And maybe it did. We pull up to this warehouse complex, all concrete and chain link fences. Not exactly the kind of place you'd expect a guy in a $1,000 suit to be hanging out after midnight. This is it, he says, but he doesn't get out right away. Just sits there for a moment, staring at the building. Then he turns to me. Listen, man, thanks for the ride. You seem like a good guy. Strange thing to say to your Uber driver, but whatever. He hands me a $20 for a $12 ride, grabs his backpack, and heads toward this unmarked door in the side of the building. I'm about to drive off when I notice something in my rearview mirror. The passenger door of my car is still slightly open. I get out to close it properly, and that's when I see it. Another backpack, identical to the one he was carrying, sitting right there on my back seat floor. My first thought is to run after him, but the guy's already disappeared inside the building. The place looks locked up tight, no lights on except for one window on the second floor. I try calling the number from the ride request, but it goes straight to voicemail. So I'm standing there, looking at this backpack, wondering what to do. It's heavy, heavier than it should be for just clothes or papers. And there's this weird bulge in one of the side pockets. I should have left it alone. Should have driven straight to the police station or the rideshare company's office. But curiosity, man, curiosity will get you every time. I unzip the main compartment, and my heart nearly stops. Stacks and stacks of cash. More money than I've ever seen in one place. $100 bills, bundled with rubber bands. Had to be at least 50 grand, maybe more. But that's not the worst part. In the side pocket, there's a phone. A cheap burner phone that's buzzing like crazy with incoming texts. I know I shouldn't look, but I look. Package received. Confirmed delivery. Boss is waiting. And then, the one that made my blood run cold. Driver knows too much. Handle it. Handle it. Like I'm some kind of problem that needs to be solved. That's when I really started to panic. I zip the bag back up, throw it in my trunk, and get the hell out of there. But as I'm driving away, I notice a black SUV pull into the warehouse parking lot. Two guys get out, both wearing dark suits, both looking like they mean business. One of them starts talking on his phone, gesturing toward where my car was parked just minutes before. I drive home, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. Every car behind me looks suspicious. Every shadow seems to hide someone waiting to jump out. I live in a small apartment complex on the south side of town. Nothing fancy, but it's quiet and the neighbors mind their own business. I park in my usual spot and grab the backpack from my trunk, my hand's shaking so bad I can barely hold it. Inside my apartment, I dump the contents of the bag on my kitchen table. The money's real, all right. $53,000 in hundreds, plus that phone that won't stop buzzing. The texts keep coming. Where are you? Answer your phone. This isn't a game. And then, the one that made me want to throw up. We know where you live, Carlos. They know my name. They know where I live. How is that possible? I'm pacing around my apartment, trying to figure out what to do, when I hear it. A car door slamming outside. Then another one. I peek through my blinds and see two black SUVs parked across the street. For men in suits, just standing there, watching my building. My phone rings. Not the burner phone, my actual phone. Unknown number. Hello. Carlos. The voice is calm, professional, terrifying. We need to talk. I don't know what you're talking about. The backpack, Carlos. We know you have it. Look, man, this is all a misunderstanding. Your guy left it in my car by accident. I was just trying to return it. A pause. Then, come outside. Bring the bag. We'll sort this out like civilized people. I don't think so. Carlos, let me be very clear. You have something that belongs to my employer. My employer doesn't like it when people take his things, even by accident. What if I just leave the bag somewhere? A bus station, a park bench? You can pick it up, and we never have to see each other again. He laughs, but there's no humor in it. It doesn't work that way. See, you've seen things. You know things. That makes you a liability. The line goes dead. I'm trapped in my own apartment with $53,000 that might as well be radioactive and four guys outside who look like they eat problems for breakfast. Think, Carlos. Think. I grab my laptop and do a quick search for the warehouse address. Turns out it's owned by a shell company, which is owned by another shell company, which eventually traces back to a name I recognize from the local news. Vincent Torino. Vincent Torino, the guy they've been trying to nail for money laundering for the past 5 years. The guy who supposedly runs half the illegal operations in the city, but has never spent a day in jail because no one's ever been able to prove anything. And I got his money. The burner phone buzzes again. This time it's a call, not a text. I almost don't answer, but something tells me I need to hear this. Who is this? I say, someone who can help you. The voice is different this time. Younger, nervous. You're the driver, right? The one who picked up Marcus. Who's Marcus? The guy who left the bag. Listen, you're in serious trouble. Torino's people think you're part of some kind of setup. Setup? What setup? I just drive for Uber. Marcus was supposed to deliver that money to Torino's warehouse. When he didn't show up with the full amount, they assumed he was trying to rip them off. Then they found out about the rideshare pickup, and now they think you're his partner. My heart's hammering so hard I can barely hear him over the sound of my own pulse. Where's Marcus now? Silence. Where's Marcus? Marcus isn't answering his phone anymore. The implication hits me like a freight train. Marcus isn't answering his phone because Marcus can't answer his phone. Because Marcus is probably at the bottom of a river somewhere. And they think I'm his partner. What do? I whisper. You need to get out of there. Now. They're not going to wait much longer. I look out the window again. One of the men is walking toward my building. How do I get out? They've got the place surrounded. Back in trance. Through the alley. There's a drainage tunnel that leads to the park. I'll meet you there. Why are you helping me? Another pause. Because I'm the one who got Marcus into this mess. And because if you go down, they'll come for me next. The line goes dead just as I hear footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment. I grab the backpack, my keys, and my phone and head for the back door. My apartment is on the ground floor, which is lucky because I don't think I could handle stairs right now with my legs shaking like they are. The back alley is dark, lit only by a flickering streetlight that makes everything look like a horror movie. I can hear voices from the front of the building, muffled but urgent. The drainage tunnel is exactly where the mystery caller said it would be. It's not exactly a tunnel, more like a large storm drain, but it's big enough to crawl through. I get on my hands and knees and start moving as fast as I can, dragging the backpack behind me. The concrete is cold and wet, and there are things in here I don't want to think about. But it beats whatever's waiting for me back at the apartment. After what feels like forever, I see light ahead. I emerge in the park, covered in mud and God knows what else but alive. The mystery caller is waiting for me by a bench, hood up, hands in pockets. You made it, he says. He's younger than I expected, maybe early 20s, with the kind of nervous energy that comes from too much caffeine and not enough sleep. Who are you? Name's Danny. I worked for Torino. Low-level stuff, moving packages, making pickups. Marcus was my friend. Was? He nods grimly. They found him about an hour ago. Single gunshot. Execution style. I feel like I'm going to be sick. This is insane. All I did was give a guy a ride. Yeah. Well, welcome to Vincent Torino's world. Logic doesn't exactly apply. What do they want from me? The money, obviously, but also assurance that you won't talk to the cops. In their business, the only way to guarantee someone won't talk is... He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. So what do I do? Give them the money and hope they let me walk away. Danny shakes his head. It doesn't work that way. Once you're in, you're in. They'll either make you work for them or make sure you can never work for anyone else. There has to be another way. Maybe. He pulls out his own phone and shows me a series of text messages. I've been documenting everything for months. Times, dates, locations, amounts. I was going to take it to the FBI, but I needed one more piece of evidence. Something that would really nail them. He looks at the backpack. That money? It's not just payment for drugs or weapons or whatever. It's payment for something bigger. There's a pattern to these deliveries. Always the same amount, always to the same location, always on the same day of the month. What kind of pattern? The kind that would interest the Federal Bureau of Investigation. My phone buzzes. Text message from an unknown number. 1 hour, Carlos. Riverside Park, East Entrance. Bring the bag. Come alone. They found me, I say, showing Danny the message. Good. Good? How is that good? Because now we set a trap. Danny explains his plan. It's insane, dangerous, and probably going to get us both killed. But it's the only chance I have of getting out of this alive. The plan is simple in theory, terrifying in practice. Danny's been working with an FBI agent for months, feeding her information about Torino's operations. She's been waiting for the right moment to make a move, something big enough to justify the risk of blowing Danny's cover. This is that moment. Agent Rodriguez has been tracking Torino's money laundering operation, Danny explains as we walk through the park. The problem is everything goes through shell companies and offshore accounts. She needs proof of direct cash transactions, something she can trace back to specific crimes. And that backpack is proof. Not just the money, the phone. Every text, every call, it's all evidence. But she needs to catch them in the act of trying to recover it. We meet Agent Rodriguez at a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. She's not what I expected from an FBI agent. Mid-30s, casual clothes, the kind of person you wouldn't look at twice in a crowd. Which, I suppose, is probably the point. Mr. Morales, she says, shaking my hand. Danny's told me about your situation. I'm sorry you got dragged into this. Can you help me? That depends. Are you willing to help us? I look at Danny, then back at Agent Rodriguez. What do you need me to do? Exactly what they're asking. Go to the meeting. Bring the bag. But this time, you won't be alone. She explains that they'll have surveillance teams positioned around the park, ready to move in the moment Torino's people make their play. All I have to do is stay calm, hand over the backpack, and try not to get shot in the process. What if something goes wrong? Something always goes wrong, she says matter-of-factly. That's why we have backup plans. The backup plan, as it turns out, involves me wearing a wire and carrying a GPS tracker. If things go sideways, the surveillance teams will know exactly where I am. One more thing, Agent Rodriguez says as we're getting ready to leave the diner. Torino's people aren't stupid. They're going to search you for weapons, recording devices, anything that looks suspicious. The wire is hidden in your belt buckle, and the GPS is in your shoe. Don't touch either one, no matter what happens. What if they find them? Then you're probably dead. Not exactly reassuring, but at this point, I don't have many options. The park is eerily quiet when I arrive. It's almost 2 a.m., and the only sounds are the distant hum of traffic and the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. The east entrance is marked by an old stone archway, the kind built back when this city actually cared about making things beautiful. I'm early, which gives me time to scope out the area. There are plenty of trees and shadows where Agent Rodriguez's people could be hiding, but I don't see any sign of them. Either they're really good at their jobs, or I'm about to walk into this alone. A black SUV pulls up to the entrance exactly on time. Two men get out, the same ones I saw outside my apartment building. One of them approaches me, while the other stays by the vehicle, hand inside his jacket. Carlos. Yeah, I'm gonna need to search you. I raise my arms, trying to look cooperative and non-threatening. He pats me down professionally, checking for weapons and recording devices. My heart nearly stops when his hand passes over my belt buckle, but he doesn't seem to notice anything unusual. Clean, he calls to his partner. Good. Now, where's the bag? I hold up the backpack. Right here. Look, I just want this to be over with. I don't want any trouble. Smart man. He takes the bag and unzips it, quickly checking the contents. Everything seems to be here. So that's it. I can go. He looks at me for a long moment, then pulls out his phone and makes a call. Yeah, it's me. We got the package. Yeah, all of it. What about the driver? There's a pause while he listens to whoever's on the other end. Copy that. He hangs up and looks at me again. This time, his expression has changed. Harder. More dangerous. Get in the car, Carlos. What? Why? I gave you the money. Boss wants to have a conversation with you. I don't think so. I start backing away, but his partner has moved to block my escape route. It's not a request. That's when I hear it. The unmistakable sound of sirens, getting closer by the second. The two men look at each other, confused. FBI, drop your weapons. The shout comes from behind me, and suddenly the park is flooded with light. Tactical flashlights, car headlights, spotlights from what sounds like a helicopter overhead. The two men reach for their guns, but they're too late. Federal agents emerge from behind trees, from parked cars, from shadows I didn't even know existed. Within seconds, both men are on the ground, hands zip-tied behind their backs. Agent Rodriguez appears at my side. You okay? I nod, though I'm not sure that's entirely true. My hands are shaking, my heart's racing, and I feel like I might throw up at any moment. Is it over? For you? Yeah, it's over. They recover the backpack, the burner phone, and enough evidence to put Vincent Torino away for a very long time. It turns out the money was just the tip of the iceberg. The phone contained text messages detailing a massive money laundering operation that stretched across 3 states. The two men they arrested that night gave up Torino in exchange for reduced sentences. Danny's testimony, combined with the evidence from the backpack, was enough to bring down an entire criminal organization. As for me, the FBI relocated me to a different city, gave me a new identity, and helped me start over. It's been 6 months now, and I still look over my shoulder sometimes when I'm walking to my car. But I'm alive, which is more than I expected that night in the park. I don't drive for rideshare apps anymore. Turns out there are other ways to make a living that don't involve picking up mysterious passengers with backpacks full of cash. I work at a small auto repair shop now, fixing engines instead of fixing problems. But sometimes, late at night, I think about Marcus. About how one wrong turn, one bad decision, can change everything. About how thin the line is between ordinary life and chaos. I never found out why Marcus had 2 identical backpacks that night. Maybe it was part of some elaborate plan that went wrong. Maybe he was trying to skim money from Torino and got caught. Maybe he was just as scared and confused as I was. I'll never know, and maybe that's for the best. What I do know is this. If a passenger ever leaves something in your car, something that doesn't feel right, something that makes your instincts scream danger, don't look inside. Don't try to be a hero. Just drive straight to the nearest police station and let them handle it. Because sometimes curiosity doesn't just get the cat. Sometimes it gets everyone. The backpack that changed my life is probably sitting in an evidence locker somewhere, part of a case file that helped put bad people behind bars. The money's been seized, the phone's been analyzed, and Vincent Torino is spending the rest of his life in federal prison. And me? I'm still here, still breathing, still grateful for every ordinary, boring day that doesn't involve men in black SUVs or backpacks full of cash. Danny got into witness protection too. We don't keep in touch. It's safer that way. But I hope he's doing okay. He saved my life that night, and I'll never forget that. Agent Rodriguez stopped by my new place a few months ago just to check in. She told me that the Torino case had led to dozens of other arrests, that the ripple effects were still being felt throughout the criminal underworld. You did good, Carlos, she said. You helped take down some very bad people. Maybe so, but all I really did was survive. Sometimes that's enough. I still think about that night sometimes, about the choices we make and the consequences we live with, about how one ride, one passenger, one moment of curiosity can change everything. If you're out there driving nights, picking up strangers, living on tips and 5-star ratings, just remember, not every fare is worth taking. Not every passenger is what they seem. And sometimes, the most dangerous thing you can do is try to help. Stay safe out there. And hey, if this story resonated with you, if you've got your own tales of close calls and narrow escapes, drop them in the comments below. Sometimes sharing these experiences helps us all stay a little more alert, a little more careful. Hit that subscribe button if you want to hear more stories like this one.